Now, as we continue working through the fat channel, in this video, we're going to talk about the gate. We're actually going to talk about the gate in the next couple of videos as well, because there's a lot of controls here. But I want to break it down and make it as simple as possible. So what a gate does is turn the sound off, sort of like an automatic mute button. But you've got all these controls to kind of set up how it's going to turn it down and how much you're going to turn it down. Of course, you can turn the whole thing on and off with this. Now let's just take a look at the controls. We've got a key filter, threshold, which is our most important control, range, which sets how much we're going to turn it down, and then attack and release, which work kind of like on a compressor, but I'll explain those as we move along. There's also key listen, which is a sort of solo function. Now take a look, key filter, key listen. These are a little bit more advanced features. We are going to talk about those in a separate video. For now, if you don't know what they do, just leave key listen off and leave this turned all the way down, the key filter turn it all the way down. In this video, we're going to talk about the 4 other controls, but primarily we're going to talk about the threshold and the range to get started here. Now, why would you want to turn the signal off automatically? Well, if you have a situation where you've got a guitar amp on stage that's humming like this, whenever the band stops playing and the artist starts talking to the audience, you're going to be in here feeling like, I need to mute that channel. And then the band starts playing and you need the guitar back on, but it sounds like this. Well, it's a good opportunity to actually use the gate. So I'm going to show you how to set that up. It's very, very easy. For one thing, if the gate has got some crazy setting on it, I already showed you how to null out anything on the fat channel. But let's just put it in some odd setting. Before we turn it on, I'm going to null it. So I'm going to go over here, I'm going to hold down tap, and I'm going to twist slightly each of these knobs, and they go back to their default setting. Now I'm going to turn on the gate and unmute this. You can hear it's still making a lot of noise. Now the thing we want to turn up is the threshold, because when we get the threshold up to where it matches this noise level, as soon as it just gets a little bit higher than the noise, it should turn everything off. Just like that. And you can see what's called gain reduction here. It actually has a full meter of gain reduction because it's fully muting off the signal. So if we get it up like this, but then if you started to play the guitar, then that'll be obviously much louder than the guitar noise, and so it'll open up the gate. And you really won't notice that the gate is even on there. This is the simplest application of a gate. I do also want to point out another button that I didn't mention, which is the EXP. This turns the gate into expander, which means that below the threshold it actually turns the signal down rather than automatically muting. It's a very subtle difference. I'm going to cover that in a separate video as well, but it's just a very slight difference. Now let's start talking about some of the other controls. Threshold sets the level at which you start to mute the signal. Range sets how deeply we're going to turn it down. With range set like this, we're going to completely turn off the channel, completely mute it out. But if you back up on this, you see you can slightly turn it down. I'll just turn the gate off to show you what the difference is. So it gives you the ability to take the background noise or what you're gating slightly out, but still leave it there. Sometimes people feel like it won't cut off or won't abruptly cut off the end of notes and things like that if you apply a gate in this way. It sounds a little bit more natural on some things, like a snare that might have a light note or something like that in there. But anyway, full gating works like this, but the range sets kind of intermediate levels of gating. All right, so that's enough with that example. That's kind of a static example. Let's go on to gating a snare. So we'll bring up the snare. So I'm going to reset the gate controls by holding down tap and twisting all these. And then what we're going to do is bring the snare in and adjust this until it starts to gate out. You can see the signal here. I'm going to turn the compressor off as well. All right, that's kind of cool. We could set up the snare so that only the snare, which is right near that mic, is strong enough to open up the gate. So basically, we just want to make sure that everything that's not the snare falls below the threshold, and then the snare itself opens up the gate. And then we're completely muting it off. We can control the range of that. I'll twist this control and let it play again. I'll just turn that all the way off so it's really clear what we're doing. Now, attack is how quickly the gate will open up when you actually play a note or you hit a drum strike. Right now it's 5 milliseconds, which is actually, compared to the attack of a drum, kind of slow. I'm going to manipulate this time and play that back, but you'll see the longer the attack, the slower it takes to open up the gate, meaning that you'll kind of chop the front or the transient part of a drum hit off. So with drums, typically you go down and use some of these really faster attack times so that as soon as you got the note coming through, or as soon as you got the drum hit coming through, you open up the gate. So we'll start here with this in the middle, and then I'll play back. And you can hear that the snare drum sounds much more natural on the faster attack times with the gate, because you're not actually chopping off the front edge of it. Now the release is how slowly or how quickly the gate will actually close back up. So once the signal falls back below the threshold, you're going to start muting again. Well, this tells how quickly that's going to happen. 0.7 is 0.7 seconds, so that's more than half a second at this setting here. So that's fine if you're going to pick up your guitar or something because it's buzzing. But with a snare, you might be to the next snare hit before that happens. So typically, if you're trying to get this to go along with the rhythm of the song, you're going to need to be down in this kind of area here. And you'll see that you could actually shape the back or the backside or the decay using this parameter here. So I'll turn this back up and I'll manipulate that, and you can hear how that sounds. So you can get those really heavily gated kinds of sounds. That might be useful for the kind of music you're doing. Also, if you're in a live venue, you've got some of the drums coming through acoustically as well. They maybe want this sound coming through your PA because it sounds nice and tight and it's easy to mix when you've got a nice tight sound like that. Anyway, that's what the attack time is for, and that's what the release time is for. If you don't know what you want to set those at, then for drums, you're definitely going to need to pull them back. But if you're just muting off unwanted noise, you can leave these up more in the middle like this. So those are the basics of using the gate on the Studio Live AI series boards. Those are the controls you'll find on the 24AI and the 32AI. And as I said, there's a lot simpler controls on the 16-channel board. We'll be covering that later. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.